The snowstorm never stopped on Karen 7. Cold winds howled like wolves across the ice fields. The sky was always gray. The air was thin and freezing. Nothing moved outside except snow and shadows. Human engineer Kyle Mercer sat alone inside a small tent made of heat-insulated fabric. His shuttle had crashed here 3 days ago. No rescue signal had been received yet. His radio was broken. Only the emergency beacon still blinked, sending out a weak pulse to the stars above. Kyle shivered as he checked the power levels on his wrist computer. 30% energy left. Enough for maybe 2 more nights if he stayed still, used no tools, and kept the tent sealed. He leaned back and sighed. "Well, happy birthday to me," he whispered. Outside, the wind screamed louder. Suddenly, the motion sensor beeped. Kyle sat up fast. Something moved outside. At first, he thought it might be a snow creature or a glitch. But the sensor didn't stop beeping. It showed heat. Faint, but real. He quickly grabbed his shock baton and peeked outside through the flap. That's when he saw her. A figure, barely standing, stumbled across the ice. She was humanoid, about his height, with long silver hair blowing in the wind. She wore some kind of thin cloth around her body, not even close to being warm enough. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were half closed. She fell forward into the snow. Kyle's training told him not to take risks, but something in her face. It wasn't a monster. It was pain. He rushed out, snow blasting his face, and reached her. She was ice cold, barely breathing. Her fingers twitched as he touched her. "Arm, hey, can you hear me?" he shouted. No answer, just a soft sound like a whimper. Without thinking, Kyle lifted her over his shoulder and carried her into the tent. He sealed the flap shut, then turned the heater to max. Warm air slowly filled the space. The alien girl lay on the ground, not moving. Her body trembled. Her lips were turning purple. Kyle knelt beside her and wrapped her in one of his thermal blankets. "You're gonna be okay. Just warm up. Please don't die on me," he said softly. He checked her vitals with a scanner. Her temperature was dangerously low, but her heartbeat was still there. Weak, but steady. Then she opened her eyes. Kyle froze. Her eyes glowed softly, like stars under ice. She stared at him, confused and afraid. "It's okay," he said, raising his hands slowly. "You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you." She blinked. Her hand reached toward the heater. Kyle helped move it closer. "I'm Kyle. Human. I crashed here." She didn't speak. She just looked at him, then at the small tent. Her breathing calmed. Kyle gave her a protein bar. She sniffed it, then nibbled, slowly. Minutes passed. The tent warmed up. The storm outside still roared, but inside it felt almost calm. The girl curled up beside the heater. She kept glancing at Kyle with curious eyes. But she didn't speak. Maybe she didn't understand. English. Maybe she couldn't speak at all. Kyle laid back on his sleeping pad, watching her. "I don't know who you are, or where you came from," he whispered. "But you found the only idiot on this planet who's willing to share a tent with a glowing alien girl." The girl turned her head. Her eyes softened. Then she moved closer. Kyle blinked. "Whoa. Hey, you don't need to." She gently placed her hand on his chest. Her fingers were warm now. They glowed faintly. His skin tingled under her touch. "What are you doing?" he asked, but she didn't answer. Her eyes closed and her body relaxed beside him. Kyle didn't push her away. Maybe she just needed warmth. He watched the ceiling of the tent as her breathing slowed beside him. Then his vision blurred. Suddenly, strange images flashed in his mind. A tall city of crystal towers, a red moon, creatures with sharp claws, screaming, running, a voice crying for help. He sat up, heart racing. What the hell was that? The girl was still beside him, now fully asleep. Kyle stared at her. She hadn't just touched him. She had shown him her memories. The next morning came slowly. The storm still raged, but Kyle could see faint light through the thin tent walls. The girl woke up first. She sat near the heater, quiet and calm. "Good morning," Kyle said. She turned her head. Then, to his shock, she spoke in clear English. "Your name is Kyle." Kyle stared at her. "Wait, what?" She placed a hand on her chest. "I am Zira." Kyle blinked. "You can talk?" Zira nodded. "I learn from your mind." "My mind?" "When I touched you," she said softly, "I formed a bond, a link. I saw your thoughts. You saw mine." Kyle sat down slowly. "So those images, that city, that was real?" "Yes." Zira looked down. "My people are gone. I ran. I escaped. But they follow." Kyle narrowed his eyes. "Who's following?" She didn't answer at first. Her hand trembled slightly. Then she whispered, "Hunters." Kyle's blood went cold. "You mean someone's hunting you?" Zira nodded. "They call me property. I am not. I am Valari." "Valari," Kyle repeated. Zira looked up at him. "I needed warmth, but more than heat, I needed a bond. My kind cannot survive alone." Kyle ran a hand through his hair. "You bonded to me, without asking." "I had no choice," she said. "Without connection, I would have died." Kyle didn't know what to say. Zira touched his wrist gently. "You saved me." He looked at her glowing fingers. "And now we're connected?" "Yes. For now the bond is weak. It fades with distance, but it kept me alive, and it helped me learn." She paused. "I like your thoughts." Kyle chuckled awkwardly. "Well, I hope you didn't see anything too embarrassing." Zira tilted her head. "What is pineapple pizza?" Kyle laughed. "Okay, that was embarrassing." They both smiled. For the first time in days, Kyle didn't feel alone. Then the sensor beeped again. Kyle's smile faded. He checked the display. Another heat source. Bigger this time. Moving fast across the ice. His face went pale. Zira stood up quickly. Her glow dimmed. "They found us," she whispered. Kyle grabbed his gear. "Who?" Zira's eyes darkened. "The Threxians." The beeping grew louder. Kyle looked outside. Black shapes moved across the snow like shadows with armor. He turned to Zira. "We have to move." The cold wind outside the tent did not slow down. It pushed and hissed like a wild beast hungry for warmth. Inside, Kyle and Zira moved quickly, packing the few things they could carry. The black shapes on the sensor were getting closer. Kyle checked his wrist computer again. The power was running low. He needed to get off this ice world fast. "Zira, how fast can you move?" he asked, securing a pack on his back. She looked at him, eyes glowing faintly but steady. "I am strong. I can run." Kyle nodded. "Good. We'll make for the cliffs to the east. If we can get there, maybe the storm will hide us." Zira helped him fold the tent. Her hands were delicate but precise. They stepped outside, the storm biting their faces immediately. Kyle pulled his jacket tighter. "Keep close," he said. Zira didn't say anything. She simply followed his steps, her blue skin almost shining against the white snow. The cliffs were 5 kilometers away. The wind howled around them, trying to push them back. Halfway through, Kyle's breathing grew heavy. He wasn't used to the thin air. Zira, however, moved like she was born for this world. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed nearby. Kyle froze. From the shadows came a Threxian scout. Its armor was black and shiny, with red lights blinking like eyes. The creature moved fast, weapon raised. Kyle grabbed Zira's arm. "Run!" They dashed toward the cliffs, dodging snow and ice. The scout fired a pulse shot that burned the snow near Kyle's foot. Zira reached out and touched Kyle's arm again. This time, He felt a wave of calm wash over him. His muscles relaxed, his mind sharpened. He saw clearer, moved faster. They reached the base of the cliffs and scrambled, up slippery rocks. Behind them, the scout stopped at the edge. It looked angry, frustrated. Then it turned and ran back toward the others. Kyle wiped sweat from his brow. That was too close. Zira nodded. They hunt me because I am the last. Kyle looked at her. The last what? The last fertile. Female Valari, she said quietly. If they catch me, they will use me to breed their soldiers. Kyle's heart pounded. They want to make more of their kind, Zira explained. Stronger, faster. But they need my blood to do it. Kyle's jaw clenched. We can't let that happen. Zira's eyes softened. Thank you. They rested for a moment, catching their breath. Kyle checked his wrist computer again. I'll try to send a distress signal. Maybe someone can help. Zira watched him work. She reached out and touched the device. Her fingers glowed and the screen flickered. Kyle frowned. Hey, careful. She smiled faintly. I want to help. The signal went out. Suddenly, Kyle felt strange. His head buzzed. He saw flashes of places he had never been. Crystal cities, alien stars, distant planets. He shook his head. Whoa. What was that? Zira looked at him. You are connected to me now. My memories flow through you. Kyle sat down, stunned. Zira smiled softly. It is how we survive. We share our strength. Kyle tried to understand. Can I trust you? He asked. Zira looked straight into his eyes. I trust you. Kyle nodded slowly. The storm outside seemed to quiet down a little. They were not alone now. They had a bond. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the cliffs. Kyle looked up. Dark shapes filled the sky. Threxian ships descending fast. We don't have much time, Kyle said. Zira stood, ready. We fight together, she said. Kyle smiled for the first time in days. Let's show them what humans and Valari can do. The sky over Karan 7 was dark with the shadow of approaching ships. The massive black vessels hung like vultures, ready to strike. Kyle's heart raced as he and Zira scrambled higher up the icy cliffs. The cold bit into their skin, but the danger was far worse. They will not stop until they find you, Kyle said, breathing hard. We need a plan. Zira looked at him, her glowing eyes steady. I have a way to fight, but it will be risky. Kyle raised an eyebrow. I like risky, tell me. She touched his wrist gently, and again, Kyle felt that strange calm wash over him. His thoughts sharpened. He saw faint images of her past battles and weapons far different from anything humans had. My people trained to fight with mind and body, Zira explained. I can use my energy to confuse and hurt our enemies, but it drains me. Kyle thought quickly. Then we use your powers smartly. I will set traps and distractions with the tools I have. They moved down from the cliffs toward an abandoned mining station, a ruined complex left over from old explorations. It was the only place nearby that offered shelter and possible weapons. The walk was tense. Every crunch of snow underfoot felt loud in the silence. Kyle scanned the horizon constantly. When they reached the station, Kyle hurried to find what he could use. Broken equipment, mining tools, and old generators lay scattered. I can rig these, Kyle said, picking up cables and scrap metal. If the Threxians come close, these will blow. Zira nodded. I will fight if they get past you. They worked side by side through the night. Kyle's hands were numb, but he refused to stop. Zira stayed close, keeping watch with her glowing eyes scanning the dark. Suddenly, a faint sound came from the sky. Kyle looked up just in time to see a squad of Threxian soldiers dropping from ships in sleek pods. They're landing, Kyle whispered. Zira's eyes flashed bright. She stepped forward, energy crackling around her fingers. Kyle took a deep breath and prepared his traps. The first Threxians hit the ground with a thunderous boom. Their armor was thick, weapons deadly. But Kyle's traps exploded in smoke and fire, forcing them to scatter. Zira moved like a ghost. Her energy pulses hit the soldiers, causing confusion and pain. They staggered, unable to fight properly. Kyle fought alongside her, wielding his shock baton and setting more traps. The battle was fierce but short. The Threxians regrouped and retreated to their ships. Kyle wiped sweat and snow from his face. "We made it." Zira smiled weakly. "You are strong, Kyle." Kyle looked at her. "You're not so bad yourself." But as they caught their breath, Kyle noticed something troubling. Zira was pale, and her glowing hands flickered. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, but her voice was faint. "I used much energy." Kyle frowned. "We need to find medical help." Just then, his wrist computer beeped. A message appeared. "Rescue team inbound, ETA 10 minutes. Kyle's eyes widened. "Help is coming." Zira looked at him with hope, but the moment was short-lived. From the dark sky, more Threxian ships appeared. They moved faster, bigger, more soldiers pouring out. The rescue team could be trapped. Kyle's mind raced. "We can't let them catch us all." Zira touched his arm again. "There is one choice. I can create a shield around us." Kyle shook his head. "That will use all your energy." She smiled softly. "It is better than death." Kyle made a quick decision. "Do it. I'll protect you." Zira raised her hands. A bright light spread around them, forming a shimmering dome. Threxians fired, but their weapons bounced harmlessly. Inside the shield, Kyle and Zira were safe, for now. The rescue ship landed nearby. The human team jumped out, weapons ready. Kyle ran toward them, shouting, "Help us! The Threxians are here!" The humans fought bravely, pushing the enemy back. Zira's shield flickered as she drained energy. Kyle grabbed her hand. "You're—" "Amazing." She smiled faintly. "You saved me again." The battle ended with the Threxians retreating. Kyle and Zira were safe for now, but the war had only just begun. The rescue ship's metal hull gleamed against the icy backdrop of Charon 7 as it landed with a heavy thud. Its engines roared, stirring snow into swirling clouds that danced around the landing bay. Kyle Mercer helped Zira onto the ramp, steadying her as she wobbled from exhaustion. Around them, a small team of humans hurried out, their faces serious and alert. They wore thick, cold-weather suits with patches that marked them as Earth's Deep Space Exploration Unit. Among them was Captain Lena Ross, a stern woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "We're safe now," Kyle said quietly, relief washing over him. Zira nodded, but her glowing eyes were heavy with pain. She sank onto a medical bench nearby, still connected to Kyle by the strange psychic bond that linked their minds and hearts. It was a connection neither of them fully understood, but both felt deeply. The human medics worked quickly, attaching monitors and scanning her alien body, with curious expressions. Her biology was unlike anything they had seen. Her blood shimmered faintly, and her cells responded strangely to the machines. Captain Ross approached Kyle. "We received your distress signal. What happened here?" Kyle took a deep breath. "I crashed on this ice world 3 days ago. I found her, Zira. She's from a species called the Valari. They're hunted by the Threxians." Ross frowned. "Threxians? We've heard of them. A violent species known for slavery and genetic experiments. They want to use Zira to breed soldiers," Kyle said grimly. "She's the last fertile female." The captain's face hardened. "We cannot let that happen." But the conversation was interrupted by a sharp alert from the ship's sensors. A Threxian fleet was approaching fast, larger and more heavily armed than before. "We need to move her off this planet, and fast," Ross ordered. Kyle looked at Zira. Her face was pale, and she struggled to stay conscious. The psychic bond between them seemed stronger now, filled with fear and urgency. "I won't let them take you," Kyle whispered. "Not while I'm alive." Zira smiled weakly. "Thank you, Kyle, for everything." As the rescue ship lifted off, the planet below disappeared into swirling clouds and frost. But the threat followed them. Threxian ships closed in, preparing for battle. Back aboard the rescue vessel, scientists gathered around Zira's medical pod, fascinated by the Valari's unique biology. Dr. Anya Patel, a xenobiologist, studied the data closely. "This connection between Kyle and Zira," she said, "is unlike any symbiosis we've recorded. Their bond is mutual and stabilizing." "Could it be the key to saving her?" Captain Ross asked. Dr. Patel nodded. "Possibly. It might also explain the flashes of memory Kyle experienced. The Valari share their mind with those they bond with." Kyle sat nearby, watching Zira rest. He remembered the night in the tent, the warmth they shared, and the strange power that touched his soul. Then came a confidential message from the Galactic Council. They demanded Zira be handed over for study and containment. The Council saw the Valari as a threat, potential weapons, or a dangerous unknown. Kyle's blood boiled. "No way," he said, standing up. "She's not a weapon. She's a person." Zira opened her eyes. "I cannot survive without this bond." "Kyle," faced the captain. "We have to protect her. If we break the bond, she will die." Captain Ross hesitated, then nodded. "We'll argue with the council. But for now, you both stay safe." Kyle squeezed Zira's hand. "We'll get through this." Suddenly, alarms blared. Threxian ships had blocked their path, demanding surrender. Kyle's jaw tightened. "We fight," he said. Zira's eyes glowed fiercely. Together, the ship prepared for battle. Outside the viewports, the cold stars watched silently as Earth's future and the fate of a hunted alien girl hung in the balance. The stars stretched out before the rescue ship like a sea of tiny lights. Kyle Mercer stood at the observation window, watching the battle-ready fleet of Threxian warships closing in fast. Beside him, Zira's fingers curled tightly around his arm, her glowing eyes steady and calm. "We will win," she said softly. Kyle looked at her, feeling the strange bond between them grow stronger every moment. They had survived the ice world, the hunts, and the battles. Now they were more than just allies. They were partners, bound by fate and choice. The human commanders had agreed to protect Zira. Earth's leaders understood the danger the Threxians posed, not just to her, but to all worlds. Kyle's story had inspired hope. The ship's alarm rang sharply. "Enemy vessels approaching!" a voice called out. Kyle took a deep breath. "Time to fight!" Zira stepped forward. She raised her hands and blue energy pulsed outward, forming a shimmering shield around the ship. The Threxian ships fired their weapons, but the shield held strong. Inside, Kyle and the crew prepared their own defenses. As the battle raged, Kyle noticed something new. The Threxian soldiers, trained and fierce, hesitated when faced with Zira's power. Some even faltered, their attacks weakening. Zira's empathic abilities reached into their minds, stirring doubt and fear. Kyle smiled. "You're turning their own soldiers against them." The tide of battle shifted. After hours of fighting, the Threxian fleet began to retreat, broken and confused. The ship's captain announced victory, but Kyle knew this was only the beginning. Later, in a quiet moment, Kyle and Zira walked on the ship's observation deck. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you," Kyle said. Zira smiled. "I never thought I'd trust a human." Their hands found each other, fingers entwining. "We survived because we needed each other," Zira said. Kyle nodded. "You thought you just needed warmth that night, but what you really needed was me." Zira leaned her head on his shoulder. and I will stay with you. Always. Together, they looked out at the stars, a galaxy full of dangers, but also hope. A new chapter was beginning, one where humans and Valari would stand together against the darkness.